What up, everybody? Welcome back to Wilson and Sports here on YouTube, where we talk about everything related to basketball, whether that's recruiting, whether that's staff, whether that's players, right here on this channel. But we're coming at you with another positional breakdown. We have a double episode, the trenches, right? We're going to be talking about the offensive line and the defensive line on this football team, the goods, the bads, the ugly. Everything is going to be in this video, so if you like the content, please hit the like button and subscribe. And if you haven't seen my other positional breakdowns, we did quarterback, we did running back, we did wide receiver, and tight end. So there'll be a link below in the description. So without further ado, let's get into it. And let's start off with this offensive line, which brings back most of its talent. All right, most of its talent. There were a couple departures, though. We have Hunter Anthony, who's gone. Didn't do anything. He was the transfer from Oklahoma State. We have Brock Bandu, who provided us some good playing time last year. Brent Banks, who never really played for us. Trent Hickson, who also played a little bit last year, but he graduated as along with Brock Bandu. And Kevin Williams Jr., who transferred in from Northern Colorado and played a little bit. The staff didn't really play him as much as they should have. He departs. I forgot where he ended up going. Let's see. I think he went to Charlotte. That would be my. I think it was some obscure school. Yeah, Charlotte. Yep, I was right. Anyway, so yeah, those are the guys who are departing, right? Also, the only member of last year's staff to be retained is Donovan Raiola, the O-line coach here. So that is something that we're going to deep dive into. Do I think that was a good move? How do I think that's going to impact this team? But let's get back to returning players. So obviously, the big ones. First off, Teddy Prohaska, right? In-state guy, going to his third year here. Had a really good true freshman year. Did not play really last year. It was due to injury. He had a really good true freshman year. Got injured in his true freshman year. Last year, he was banged up a little bit, along with he had a big regression. Norton Newelly, who did not play last year, had a pretty good 2021 campaign, but did not play last year due to substance. Got suspended by the NCAA. We got Turner Corcoran, who was the huge recruit out of Kansas a couple years ago. Never really has done anything here for us. I mean, he started, but the potential that we thought he had almost is all the way gone. We're putting him at guard now. He came out of high school at tackle. I think that's the right move to put him at guard. He just doesn't have the footwork to play tackle. But that was disappointing. That was disappointing that the way he's shaken out. But hopefully catches lightning in the bottle. The last guy really is Bryce Benhart, another guy who has not been great coming out of high school. 6'10", I mean, out of Minnesota, 4-star prospect, and he has been horrendous. Probably the most hated O-lineman on this team in a very long time. He deserves, I mean, I don't want to say he deserves any bit of that hate, but yeah, he hasn't been playing good ball. So those are the guys returning that are of note. And we have a couple guys who are joining the team. Ben Scott, this is huge. Transfer from Arizona State, he could play guard, he can play tackle, he can play center. I think, personally, I honestly want him to play tackle for us. I think they'll go and play him at center, and I'll discuss that in a little bit why I want him to play tackle. But I think they will end up putting him at center. We have Jacob Hood from Georgia, 4-star prospect coming out of high school. He only spent 1 year at Georgia. I mean, he's huge. He is a huge player. I think. Let's see, on the Huskers.com website, they have him listed as, they have 6'8", 250. That's insane. But a guy I would not expect to see on the field this year, and if he's on the field, something's going wrong. And then we have a bunch of true freshmen: Gunnar Gatula, Sam Sledge, Brock Knudsen, and and Sam Mason Goldman. Holy cow! So overall, right? Let's go over the starting lineup. What I think it's going to be: left tackle Teddy Prohaska shouldn't be up for debate. Left guard Norton Newelly shouldn't be up for debate. He was really good in 2021 for us. He was really good. He transferred from Colorado State, and it was unfortunate that he was suspended last year. But this really shouldn't be debate. Center Ben Scott. I think the reason why I'd rather have him at tackle is because I know we can play tackle at a fairly high level, and I think we don't have another. I know we don't have a high quality tackle on this roster besides Teddy Prohaska. But I think they'll play him at center. You got Turner Corcoran at right guard. That's where he was last year. No surprise there. And then you have Bryce Benhart at right tackle. I personally would rather have Ben Scott at right tackle, and then you slide in Ethan Piper at center. Ethan Piper is a heck of a guy, heck of a O-lineman coming off the bench. You always want a swing tackle. Ethan Piper doesn't provide you that. He provides you basically being a swing guard in the center. He can play guard or center. He played center for us a lot last year. I gave Ethan Piper a lot of grief when he first got here and when he was first getting snaps. But man, he had a really good year at the end last year. He was playing good ball. He was really playing good ball. So that's a guy I would want to have in the starting lineup. I don't trust Bryce Benhart. I don't trust the development with him. Another guy who I've been begging since he got here on campus 3 years ago. Time has flown. I've been begging for Henry Letufsky to get playing time. I mean, this is a dude who I loved out of high school. He came out of Iowa, was a 3-star prospect, and it was headlined by Teddy Prohaska in that 2020 class. Everyone was saying, oh, how good Teddy Prohaska was, or 2021, excuse me. And everyone was saying how great Teddy Prohaska was, and that, Teddy Prohaska. And I said, no, Henry Letufsky is the best get on this offensive line in that class. And Teddy Prohaska had a great true freshman year. So just imagine how good Henry Letufsky could be if he gets playing time. I think he's just a guy who needs an opportunity to shine. And I've said that the last year too. So I really like him. But other than that, and those guys, keep a note, both of those guys are guards. Right, Henry Letufsky cannot play tackle, and I would be mortified if Ethan Piper ever went and played tackle. We do not have any depth at tackle at all. That is a problem. That is a huge problem. Because, let's just say Teddy Prohaska goes down. Let's say Teddy Prohaska goes down. The staff has one or two choices. You can either put Ben Scott at tackle and put in Ethan Piper, which I think is the best option. And you'll have Ben Scott on one end, Bryce Benhart on the other end. Or you keep it as it is. Teddy Prohaska goes down. Ben Scott's his center. And you chuck in true freshman Gunnar Gatula or Jacob Hood. I like Gunnar Gatula. I think I've heard so many good things of how he's performed. He was an early enrollee. They're saying he's making a mark. Could get some real playing time. But I don't trust true freshman tackles playing the Big Ten. I don't. And I know we feel good about it recently because of Teddy Prohaska, but remember Brendan Hymas in the NFL now with the Chargers, but he was a really good tackle for us, but he played as a true freshman. I think his first game ever was against Wisconsin as a true freshman, and he was awful. He was horrendous. Like, you will get exposed against really good teams, right? Teddy Prohaska in his true freshman year, when he was playing really good ball, he wasn't playing great teams, and he got hurt in that Michigan game, and he wasn't really holding his own. He did not ever face Wisconsin. He never played Iowa. And then when he ended up playing them last year, he didn't perform great. Really big regression from Teddy Prohaska. So we do not have any depth at tackle. This O-line is already really, really bad as it is. It's not a good O-line. I do not trust Donovan Raiola. I thought keeping Donovan Raiola was an awful decision. And it's comical, right? You can make any excuse you want to why Rule kept Donovan Raiola, but we all know the real reason why. The real reason why is because he knew that if he got rid of Donovan Raiola, there's probably 0% chance we would have got Dylan Raiola, his nephew, number 1 player in the country, right? And obviously we didn't get him anyways. So we allowed Donovan Raiola to stay, even though we're pretty confident he's not a great head coach, or not, positional coach. We're pretty confident, and he did. We can play this game and give him the short end of the stick and say, oh, but Frost wasn't doing him any favors, and he's only here 1 year. It doesn't matter, right? We can play that game with Donovan Raiola, or we could have just said, hey, we're gonna fire you. You're gonna get another opportunity in the NFL. You're fine, right? And we're gonna hire the best O-line coach money can buy. All right, we are not in the position. We were not in the position to give this guy the benefit of the doubt. Okay, we were the ones in charge, and what we should have done was hire the best O-line coach money could buy. Donovan Raiola was not the best excuse me. My goodness, I'm having trouble today. Donovan Raiola was not the best O-line coach money could buy. With that being said, I do want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think that the O-line as a unit did get better last year. You saw in the Iowa game. They were holding their own for the most part. But I don't trust his recruiting, and I don't trust his development for the most part. So we'll see what goes on there with that. I hated when he came back, though. I thought that was just an absolute butchery by Matt Rule. I thought that was his first big mistake, was keeping Donovan Royal on the roster. And that's something that we're going to reassess. Okay, we're going to reassess that going into this year. And about every game, we're going to reassess whether that was a good move. And I'm going to tell you this. If we're sitting in the Iowa game next year and we're saying to ourselves, yep, Donovan Royal is going to be fired, we have nobody to blame but Matt Rule. We have nobody to blame but Matt Rule for willingly bringing him back. However, if we're sitting in that Iowa game and Donovan Royal is killing it and the O-line's looking good and Prohaska's playing on an all Big Ten level and Ben Scott's playing good ball and Norton Newelly's playing good ball, and we're finally seeing good results from Corcoran and Benhart, and this is a formidable unit, we're going to give Rule a lot of freaking praise. So it really depends on how it all shakes out. But give Rule praise when it's deserved, but also we can give Rule a little bit of grief when it's also deserved, because this is a risky move. This is a risky move. And that was all his decision. It was all his decision. So overall for the unit, it's a bad unit. I'm not going to come on here and tell you it's a great unit. We're going to see different results than we have the last 5 years. No, right? Not in year one. Okay, I trust Teddy Prohaska enough to be decent on the left side. I feel like the left side of our line is pretty good, right? Teddy Prohaska, Norton Newelly, Ben Scott. That's a middle of the road. That's not elite by any means, but that's a middle of the road Big Ten team worthy left side of the offensive line. That's fine. You're not going to write home about that, but we don't need to write home about that. That's the best part of our offensive line by far. You look at the right side of our line, that could cause a lot of problems for us. Turner Corcoran's been bad, man. Bryce Benhart's been atrocious. And the fact that if any of those guys on the left side of the ball go down, we know Teddy Prohaska's had injury issues. We know Norton Newelly has tried traumas staying on the field, and Ben Scott hopefully will not get hurt. If any of those guys on the left side of the ball get hurt, we're screwed, because our tackle depth is awful. Our depth in general is really bad. And if there's ever a point where Gunnar Gatula's playing, we're in a bad position. Even though I love Gunnar Gatula, and I think he's going to be a heck of a player for us. So overall, I'm giving grades to the unit. I don't remember what I gave the other units on the offense. But this is the worst unit on the offense by far. Not by far. The tight end unit is pretty bad. But I'm not giving it any optimism, because I don't think it deserves optimism, because we know what it's been. We've seen it in the last 5 years. We have the same coaches last year. Maybe if we had a different O-line coach, I'd give it a little bit of optimism, but I think I know what Donovan Royal is as a coach. And I'm not in love with it. So I'm going to give this unit a D-, or we'll give it a D+, actually. I like Teddy Prohaska. I like Norton Newelly. What kills it's the depth, and what kills it is the right side of the line. Those starting right guard and right tackle might be the worst pair in the Big Ten. Those two alone, right, like starting level. So a lot to be concerned there. But man, if things work out, this could be a B+ unit. It really could. But the depth is not something that's going to be fixed this year. That is the O-line, and I did my best trying to break that down for you. I mean, I never played O-line. It's hard to really get into tape about the O-lineman, but that's the eye test, man. That's the eye test. But we can get back in to breaking down D-lineman, which I know a little bit more about. And I mean, I know about the O-lineman, right? Like I can tell you who's good, who's not, who hasn't played well, who's a good recruit, all that. But I can't break it down into what they all do perfectly and what they all do bad. Specifically, like I have with the quarterbacks, like I have with the running backs, like I have with the wide receivers and tight ends. Can't really do it with the O-line, but I can definitely do it with the D-lineman. So let's get into D-lineman. Now, I know I was coming off a little pessimistic with the O-line. And I hate to say it, but this is going to be worse, man. This is going to be worse. This is the worst unit on the squad. I mean, without a doubt. It's not even, frankly, debatable. Let's go into who I think is starting. So we're running the 3-3-5. And I watched a lot of Tony White, right? I've been watching a lot of his film at Syracuse. And I see a lot of 4-2-5 in his looks. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have we have the three linemen, and then we have an edge rusher like MJ Sherman. kind of like what you saw in the 3-4. So you instantly look at the depth chart, and I think what you're going to see is you're going to see 2 true freshmen starting. That is a little bit of a problem. And I think ideally, in an ideal world, you have Ty Robinson starting at nose tackle. I've been a proponent of starting Ty Robinson at nose tackle for a very long time. Ty Robinson he's not worth playing on the edge anymore. He doesn't have the speed, doesn't have the athleticism that's going to make it and really get to the quarterback at a consistent level in the Big Ten. Like, it's really that simple. And I don't think his footwork's good enough to be inside, but I'd rather have him there playing nose, which I know he's big enough to play, rather than having him play DN, which I know he's been super inconsistent. This is a guy who barely put up stats last year until the Iowa game. Like, I don't think he had a single sack until the Iowa game last year. Let's see how many sacks he had last year. Let's see. 2. Yeah. We're talking about a dude who's a 4-star coming out of high school. And played and was started every single game. He had 2 off the edge for us. Compared to Garrett Nelson, who had 6. O'Shawn Mathis, who was largely considered a bust, had 4. And Caleb Tanner, who was awful. I was a Caleb Tanner hater. He had 2.5. So, yeah, Ty Robinson's not been great, man. He's not been great. You got to put him inside. But let's talk about the two true freshman phenoms and who they're beating out to be on the edge. All right. Princewell Emmanuel, I know I butchered that. Once he gets, I made kind of a bet with myself. Once he gets 5+ sacks, I'll learn to pronounce his last name correctly. But we have Princewell, and then we have Cameron Lenhart. So these guys, I love these dudes as prospects. These are 4 stars, both of them in the top 300, excuse me. And, I mean, these guys were studs. Cameron Lenhart's more of the traditional bull rusher, a lot more physical than Princewell. He's sitting at, let's see what he's sitting at. I had it pulled up real quick. I had his dude. Yeah, he's sitting at 6'3", 250, so he's already a pretty good weight. But yeah, he was definitely, weight-wise, he's a lot better than Princewell. Princewell's sitting at 6'4", 230. So, and then you can see that watching film. But the reason why I like these two so much is because they're explosive. I mean, they were wrecking crap up in their huddle film. Their stats are out of this world. Princewell had about 12 sacks his senior year. He reminds me a lot of Randy Gregory, just pure athleticism. Reminds me a lot of Patrick Payton, who was a commit that we had here for a while, I think in the class of 2021, and then he ended up decommitting and going to Florida State, and he's been playing pretty good ball for them. So I really love Princewell. I thought it was a huge get out of Texas. And he's really more of your speed rusher. He can run about a 4.5 at his height. And Cameron Lenhart is more of your guy, get in the dirt, Big Ten edge rusher, kind of like what you see at Iowa. I mean, I think that's a great duo, but it does worry me that they're true freshmen who are already looking to start. Granted, they're going to have to beat out a couple guys to get there. Elijah Judy, the transfer from Texas A&M, I think that's going to be no problem to beat out. Elijah Judy has never produced in his entire career. I don't think he's ever played, really. They'll have to bleed out Blaise Gunnerson. I'm a Blaise Gunnerson believer, so I think Blaise Gunnerson could definitely be up there and fight for some minutes. But I don't think they beat out Princewell or Cameron, and that's it. That's how bad this edge unit is, really. This DN unit. I mean, they're really gonna have to beat out two guys to get there. And then you look at nose tackle; it's not much better. You have Ty Robinson, who I'm hoping they put at nose tackle. Then you have Nash Hutmacher, who I am not a fan of. He was one of the most overrated prospects, in my opinion, because everyone, they saw him play for South Dakota, and they said, "Oh, this dude's huge. He's a wrestler." Everyone fell in love with Nash, and I fell in love with Nash too. But I also understood it's going to take a long time for him to play in the field. And he had some good minutes last year. He was playing good ball. I don't think he's ever going to be a starter caliber nose tackle in the Big Ten, however. And I'd rather have Ty there. I really would, because I think Ty's more naturally talented. And that's it for nose tackle. There is no depth on this D-line. Same thing we said about the O-line. So you're hoping it stays healthy, but man, it could be a really bad unit. And it already is a really not great unit, as is. I'm hoping Princewell has an amazing year along with Cameron Lenhart as true freshman, because they could be like guys. I strongly believe those two could be guys drafted in the first round. But it's not a good unit, man. I will mention MJ Sherman in this video. We're going to talk about him more in the linebackers video. But MJ Sherman is going to be our primary edge rusher. You're going to see kind of a 4-2-5 look, but he's going to be kind of the linebacker in a 3-4. So he's going to be edge rushing. MJ Sherman is an interesting case. Like, everybody you talk to at Georgia loves MJ Sherman. They were kind of sad to see him go. They said he was the best special teams player on their team. But you look at his stats, and he's never produced in his college career, right? He has, his entire career, 13 tackles and has 0.5 sacks, right? So I think it is a little bit, I think a lot of people are banking on him being elite. And I'm not. I'm absolutely not banking on him being elite. This guy's never produced. I mean, he's never produced. So it does worry me a little bit that we're kind of banking on him being our primary edge rusher when he's never produced. There's a lot of unknowns, man. There's a lot of unknowns. I think this unit has the most, this team has the most unknowns that we've ever seen in the last 6 years. It's a lot of unknowns, man. Just going and talking about the depth, though, in this unit. A.J. Rollins is a guy going into his third year here. We originally had him at tight end. I like this switch. I think this is originally where he should have been. I think Frost made a lot of questionable decisions about putting guys at certain positions, and we'll fix that early on. Brody Tagaloa, another guy who they put at tight end when he got here, and they switched him to his rightful position. Roquan Buckley, who I never think is going to play here. I was not a Roquan Buckley guy when he came out of high school. Kai Wallen's an interesting case. He's coming out of JUCO. He honestly might get some playing time. And Maverick Noonan's another guy to kind of watch out for as a true freshman. Oh, I'd be remiss to not mention Chief Borders, who's going to be an edge rusher for us, who I think is going to get some good playing time, and Jamari Butler, who I really like, both those guys. And again, never really produced in the college level. Jamari Butler's played a little bit for us in the past. Obviously, Chief Borders coming out of Florida. But, I think that I believe in them. It's the same thing with MJ Sherman. I got to see it to believe it, but I do believe they can get there. So, the reason, let's just break down why I think this is the worst unit on our team. Very young, very little depth, right? On the O-line, there's a little depth, but it's not really young, right? These guys have all started before. They've all seen it before. Every single one of those guys have started before. Every single one of them on the O-line. On here, none of these guys. The only returning starter we have coming back is Ty Robinson. Okay, and we lost Devin Drew. We lost Colin Feist. We lost Mosai Newsom. We lost Stephon Wynn. So we lost a lot of guys from last year. It worries me because we have so much experience and we have no depth. And not to mention, this is a part I want to get to. And nobody's talking about this. But I'm worried about Terrence Knighton, who is our defensive line coach. I talked about how I thought the O-line position was the most important positional coach on this team, that we needed to hire the best of the best, and we didn't do it. Number 2 was D-line. That's what you need to succeed in the Big Ten, is explosive and dominant O-line and D-line. Control the trenches, right? So we missed on their O-line, coach. We got down on our all back, whatever. You're hoping we get the best of the best on D-line. No. We get Terrence Knighton, who's fresh out the NFL and has no experience coaching college. He's only been an assistant D-line coach with the Panthers. Are you kidding me? Now, I'm trying to remember what I said when I originally broke this down about us hiring him. And again, I'm a Terrence Knighton fan. I love Pot Roast, right? That's his nickname. He played with my favorite team when he was in the NFL. He played with the Redskins. So I have reason to like this guy. I like his energy. It worries me that he's never coached college, though, ever. And it worries me that he hasn't recruited before. And you're going to say in the comments, Wilson, you don't have to worry about that. He got Cameron Lenhart. He got Prince Wall. There's no worry. Sure, but Matt Rule got those guys, right? Matt Rule was the one calling those dudes when he got on campus. That's what new head coaches do. When the new head coach gets on campus, they're the one making those calls for that 1 month or so period. And Terrence Knighton's kind of been struggling in recruiting in this 2024 class. We only have 2 commits, and they're not great. They're not awesome. So recruiting is another problem. Developing is a whole different issue. When you're around NFL players for the longest time, when you're playing, and when you're around NFL players, when you're starting off your coaching career, you can think coaching is one way when it's really not the other. Because I'm telling you right now, coaching in the NFL is completely different than coaching in college. Coaching on college is building a foundation. You're still teaching. You're still a teacher. You're still teaching these guys how to do these moves, how to successfully use them. In NFL, it's all here. You've already learned everything. It's like in college, right? I mean, seriously, it's like when you're in college. When you're a high schooler and when you're in middle school, when you're learning content, you're learning it all for the first time. In college, a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it is foundational, and you're kind of going off on what you already learned. Okay, same thing in the NFL, right? Nobody is being drafted in the NFL, and then the D-line coaches teach them how to do a swim move for the first time. That's not happening. Okay, that's not happening. These guys know how to do a swim move. They know how to successfully get to the quarterback. It's just about finding what works and maintaining that. That is coaching in the NFL. And if you've ever talked to or if you ever heard a coach talk, Matt Rule specifically, he has experience coaching in both. And he told you in his press conference when he first came to Nebraska, it is so different coaching with college kids and with NFL guys. So different because they're completely different. They're completely different in the way they coach them. They're completely different in their approach and their relationships. So it worries me that Terrence Knighton has no experience with these guys. He has never coached collegiately before. He has only been around NFL players for the last 15 or so years of his life. And we suddenly expect him to turn around the worst unit on this team into a solid unit. That worries me. It worries me. It really does. And I think this was another swing and a miss by Rule. I really do. And it's too early to say that. I'm not going to come out Rule for any means. Okay? But I think this was a bad hire. And it's worrisome. And it's another thing to reevaluate. We got to reevaluate this in a year. But I was not a fan of this hire. I really wasn't. Because this unit's bad, man. And honestly, there is a reality where Princewill is really good as a true freshman and he earns true freshman honors. There's a reality where Cameron Leonard's really good as a true freshman. There's a reality where Ty Robinson is finally a decent college player like he was originally scoped out to be. There's a reality, but there's no reality where the D-line depth is good. There's no reality where this unit's ever going to be elite. The best case scenario is this line turns out to be as good as last year. And the line last year was not that good. I mean, it really wasn't. Like, there's no scenario where we have a better unit last year. I really don't think so. I think this unit likely will get ran over by teams like Wisconsin, by teams like Iowa. It's tough to look at it right now. Like, this is why I do this positional breakdown specifically in the summer, is because there's so much Kool-Aid flowing, right? And there's Kool-Aid, and everyone's getting hyped for the year. But we need to look in the roster, and we need to dig deep in it. And it's kind of deflating because you want to think everything's going to change immediately. That's what you want to think. That's what I want to think, right? I want to sit here and believe that we're going to win 7 or 8 games next year. Really badly. And I want to think that just because of the fact that Rule's a good head coach, we're going to get there. But we also have to realize that Matt Rule got a really bad hand when he got here. The hand that he was dealt was terrible. This D-line was stripped of all its talent, and we're relying on true freshmen to make it admirable. So, yeah, it does worry me a little bit. And like I said, this is the worst unit on our team. I don't want to make this a depressing video. Like, I really don't want to make this a depressing video. We talked about 2 units which are really bad. Like, they're really bad units. It's not up for debate. Like I don't expect to see any comments by people saying, "Oh, the O-line's going to be really good." You don't know what you're talking about. Like I don't think anybody truly believes that. I don't think it's a debatable. I mean, there's a lot of sunshine and rainbows. We talked about the running backs and about the wide receivers, but when we're talking about these two units, these are not good units, man. So yeah, it worries me, man. It worries me, especially in Big Ten play. I think the O-line is going to be a little better than last year. I truly believe that. That the O-line is going to be a little better than last year. The O-line is still going to be a really bad unit because last year was a really bad unit. And we can sit here and say that the O-line improved last year, which it did. That is a bona fide fact. It did improve. But it didn't improve too much. We were still a bottom of the packed offensive line. I mean, so I do think it'll be a better unit, but not by much. And the D-line, man, this D-line is going to be horrific. It's going to be horrific, dude. And God forbid we ever have any injuries of substance, which we know we've had in the past. We are going to be in a bad spot. So, yeah, man, I don't want to make it all doom and gloom, but these things aren't going to change overnight. They really aren't. And I think Matt Rhule did not a great job when it came to recruiting defensive linemen and offensive linemen in the portal, because I don't think he was aggressive enough. I mean, he got Elijah Judy, who's never produced, and he got Kai Wallen, who never produced. Kai Wallen did produce, but he was a JUCO, and that was it. And Chief Borders, I guess, and MJ Sherman. We're talking about guys who never produced either, really. I mean, MJ Sherman produced on the special teams. You look at O-line, and he got a grand total of 2 transfers on the worst unit on our team last year. And Ben Scott, who's a good get, by the way. And Jacob Hood, who's never going to play for us in the next 2 years. I mean, he could play for us in the future, but not this year. You don't want to see him. You don't want to see Jacob Hood play this year. He's going to not going to be fun for your eyes. So I feel like we had needs going into it, and we addressed them, but not with the best of players that we could have got. It's not going to be a fun year watching this O-line, D-line. It really won't be. So there it is. There's my little depressing video. It is depressing, but we're gonna come at you with a linebacker video up next, and we're gonna come at you with a secondary video up next. And I'm gonna tell you this right now: that video you're not gonna want to miss either of those, because there's gonna be a lot of Kool-Aid in those. I love those units. This defense is not a bad unit by any means. Okay, this defense is not a bad unit, because we're going to get to the good parts in our next 2 videos. So there it is, everybody. I'm not trying to be pessimistic. I always say this. I'm just trying to be real. I'm trying to be give it a fair shakedown. So there we go, man. There it is, talking about the O-line, D-line, the trenches on this unit. Hopefully we see some progress from both of them, and hopefully they turn into some admirable units on this team. But yeah, that's my video. I know we got some recent commitments from Carter Nelson and a couple others. I wanted to make a video about that, but I just came out with my recruiting video last week. So we'll talk about recruiting in the foreseeable future at some point in time. But I really want to get done with this series talking about positional breakdown, and then we'll start talking about more so recruiting, and then we'll get to talking about the season, man. The season's right here. It's almost here, man. 2 months. 2 months. I'm almost counting down the days. So that's my video, everybody. So if you do like the video, or if you don't like the video, it doesn't matter. Please help me out. Hit the like button. That really be great for me. And if you disagree, or if you agree, hit the like button. Or not hit the like button. Comment. Man, I'm losing it. It's 1 a.m. when I'm recording this. So everybody, I'm just going to get out of here. Go Big Red.